LCBBID M.I.H.E was A.S.S. K.J.H added more to M.D.H. and it was okay. Even with B.I.S, the enemies were still tough. G.D.I. So after seeing the O.O.F, I wondered if my B.I.D can get through this S.H.I.T. Damn. As evident in the intro, Ryoshu and Sinclair were particularly useful in the initial attempt for their DPS. The initial run was SB while leaning into poise, so sinners such as Sinclair and Ryoshu were Sin-trumental in AD, while some of the damage type specific gifts ignores the NSS. This is still a GS, as by the later stages, stacking status became the main source of damage, and certain ego gifts like the RM and TB allows for better ASS when using slash skills. While this video will go over some of my picks, I do feel like there are some ego gifts that are A.M.O.G.U.S and are required, or else you will be sus. Funnily enough, damage was not an issue thanks to R and B, which can be easily stacked even with BS, allowing you to do a DAD. The main challenge to overcome was in winning clashes with the severe LOOP. Fortunately, this was somewhat mitigated by leveling the ego gift POR, giving my sinners 10 extra EL, and the LCE specific ego gifts giving them an increase in OP with their skill 2s. Lastly, CMCW did help in preventing LOR from happening by giving 10 OL every turn a CH is landed. Unfortunately, despite all these preparations, by the 11th floor it still devolved into ego spam, but in boss floors where it's OCO and the SBA, only resulting in a favorable matchup did not help GC. Therefore, it cannot be understated how ego gifts are epic and will make or break your cock. COC. E.V.G.A. So make sure to LWFM or else you will be sus. The main 4 ego gifts that are needed in any attempt of this run will most likely be CMCW for the EO, POR for the EL, and Faith for the ego spam with no LOS, and maybe LM. Others such as NDA, SC, and CC are very welcome for comfort, but if not found, probably won't ETR. However, realistically speaking, I highly doubt you can get 4 tier 4 gifts and every required EG for the fusion of LM. Not that it is necessary, because again, most of your damage will come from ES. What is essential in the tier 4 is Faith and POR. Obviously, 10 EL is useful in remaining relevant, and the unlimited SP would be perfect for S.G.O. Then collect Poise ego gifts as they are poggers. Also remember U.Shi.O. Collect the relevant gemstones for the respective status you plan on using. The Rupture, Bleed, and Burn stones will help your damage dealers remain relevant while clashing, and the DTM also will help. I was able to keep dominating with Ryoshu and Sinclair's ego without Merso's attack down with this combination. PRTS. C and C can print the relevant sins required to fuel your ego spam, and is probably the unsung heroes of this run as well. Once you are done amassing a small menagerie of tier 1 to 3 ego gifts, remember that you do not combine ego gifts, as combination ego gifts have the stipulation of if there are 5 sinners that do X, which is incompatible with the LCB lineup, as the amount of sinners that share the same gimmicks do not reach 5. There's a reason why I not use Sangria. This is really important. I threw my run because of this. Of course, all this information did not come for free. I raw dogged a BBC as to CUM, which resulted in me making mistakes and failing the run. Here is where I felt I went wrong so as to make you avoid the F.U. Obviously, in this failed run, I committed multiple mistakes leading to a SL. This style of challenge is different from just RTAA. The true challenge here is from preparation you make before reaching the floor boss. Once the fight begins, it's just RC. One of the main mistakes was not storing enough Gloom Ego for Merceau and Rhodion's Ego spam for the bleed and attack down. This could have been fixed with the multitude of Ego choices that provide Ego, or while stacking Gloom while fighting through the levels. But with me carrying 0 on the first boss of floor 11, I couldn't undo a thing, and resulted in the termination of the run. These weren't the only issues, but it was the one that was most prevalent. I even did an SR to reach at least one of the IB and died even with the KG from the first. The main takeaway I have is that the LCB OC is a challenge that forces you to PP as your units DMD on account of LCC and NCC. It's hard to build bleed or rupture when only half your team applies it. However, the MAC mercilessly pits you AT, as one of the adversaries is a flat 10 to 20 DTET, which triggers a stagger, by the way. Even the HB there have FDMs as well, either through UC, SD, CC, or with Caron, VM, Vehicular Manslaughter. I'm not saying it's impossible, but as the title implies, it's ASS that at the same time gives you an HTL. BAM please TTC and let me know how far you have gotten, but I can't risk burning out trying to relive the DOI, not when the AKC is RATC. I see. The run was chopped. I am sad that I edged what I thought was a BBC, but at least we received valuable data. Just remember the gifts that are A.M.O.G.U.S, so that you won't be sus, and you'll be in a better position than I was when I started this SHIT. Lastly, I hope you can forgive me for this, but I have proven that you can reach floor 10 to beat M.D.H.I. with BS, so in the interest of saving time for future runs, I'm just going to ape the 10 floors with Hong Kong, then switch to LCB crew when it's actually time to do M.D.H.I.E. again. If you disagree with me on this, then you can bow about this challenge in the comments below. TYSM, FW, and BS to DPW. T.L.D.R max adversaries implies that you will eventually have to pick the force damage alongside the reduced max health challenge too. Pair that with bosses that have unbreakable coins or other mechanics that can guarantee damage against your units means that you are racing against the clock for most of the fights. The problem is your damage is already kneecapped by method of the most inefficient composition of the game, paired with no reliable method of recovering health, as you have no access to egos that can recover your health, means that in a majority of fights that last longer than 20 seconds, you will be SOL. To me, it seems impossible, but in my defense, I'm just a DAB. If there's a way to successfully do a base ego, base ID run, please let me know in the comments below and I'll consider making it a video that sees it to completion.